Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today I'm going to be doing the rotation guide on Ninja. Now, if you've seen my 5.1 Ninja changes video, most of the things I talk about in that video are still true for this one, but rotation is slightly different from the one that I'm showing off over there. So, just like Dark Knight, Ninja has 3 different burst windows, I guess you could say. Trick Attack is the main one, which is always every 1 minute. This is also the reason why Ninja is such a desired job, because it does bring that 1 minute trick window. And it's the only job that has a 1 minute buff for the raid buffs. So that's why Ninja is really strong. Now Ninja also kind of shifted its playstyle from like back in Stormblood towards 5.0 Shadowbringers, and now in 5.1 Shadowbringers it's been changed quite a bit as well. So in between your trick attacks, I kind of like to refer to it as a cooldown phase, because there's not much going on in between your trick attacks, but when you do apply that trick attack, you have a 50-second burst window in which you're going to be bursting quite a bit. Now, other than this 1 minute trick window, at 90 seconds you also have Bunshin, which will always line up with Monk's Brotherhood, so that's really nice. And then at 3 minutes that will align with your trick attack again as well. But at 2 minutes you also have Mug, Meisui and Tenchi Jin. Now in my 5.1 overview of Ninja, where I looked at the changes, I said to use Tenchi Jin as a setup for your trick attack, because that's kind of what I was used to from back in Stormblood. But it's actually a much bigger damage increase to use that Tenchi Jin inside your trick attack, because it does force a crit on all of your ninjutsus, and it also gives you that Meisui usage under the trick as well, meaning that you can get an extra Bava Kakra under that trick attack too. So as you'll see me doing in the opener, I'm going to be choosing to get the extra Aeolian Edge with the Bunshin and Bava instead of doing an extra ninjutsu, because that is more potency. So in some cases I'm going to be prioritizing a GCD plus Bava instead of just doing the ninjutsu if it does have that Bunshin applied to it. So that's kind of like my thought process over there. So for every trick attack, it's gonna look kind of like this. So you save up your ninjutsus, you use Sweet On to set up your trick attack right before you get your second charge of your ninjutsu. Then you're going to be applying trick. You've got your Shadow Fang, Dream Within a Dream. You already precasted Kasatsu, so you can do a Hyosho Ryanryu with your first ninjutsu. Use any Bava Kakras you get. Use your Assassinate, because that combos out of your Dream Within a Dream. Use 2 Ride-Ons, and then if you do have your Tenchi Jin up every other trick attack, you're going to be using a Tenchi Jin Sweet On to set up for another Meisui, and then you can use the Meisui so you can get another Bava Kakra in there. Every 3 minutes you're also going to have Bunshin, but just use that on cooldown and it should align with your trick attack just fine. When it comes to Mug, that you're going to have available every 2 minutes as well. But you're basically going to be using that before your trick attack happens to get a little bit of extra gauge. In the end, it just makes it so that you can have an extra usage of Bava. I always try to save as much Ninki as possible for the trick attack, but sometimes it's not possible without overcapping. So instead of just overcapping, just use it outside of trick. Trick is only a 5% buff now instead of a 10%, so it's not as big of a loss to use stuff outside of trick attack as it used to be before. So just use everything before overcapping stuff like your ninjutsus, like your Ninki and stuff like that, because not using it in track, like using it outside of trick, is not as big of a loss as it was before. So it's better to just use it instead of overcapping your resources and then maybe losing out a usage of those skills in the long run. Like for example, if you have a very long fight, you might lose like a usage of Bava, for example, and that is a much bigger loss than losing it once underneath a trick attack window or something like that. So as I said, your trick attack is gonna be very busy, and then the cooldown phase in between your trick attacks is going to be very calm, I guess you could say. The only thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be precasting a Sweet On at some point. You're also going to be using a Bava Kakra, so to make sure that you don't overcap your Ninki gauge, because of course we don't want to do that. If you do see that your Bunshin is getting really close, it might be better for you to hold off on using Bava Kakra just to make sure that you can use Bunshin on cooldown, because the more you wait with that, the more it could get misaligned with your trick attack, and it's very important that it does stay aligned with all of the raid buffs, because Bunshin is quite a strong skill. So you definitely want to be using that as much as you can. So if you're not sure whether or not you're going to generate enough Ninki, just make sure that you keep your gauge basically, and then if you do see in the end oh, I'm gonna overcap, just use the Bava then, because as I said, using it outside of trick is not as big of a loss as it used to be. So let's take a look at Ninja then and kind of how the rotation flows. So first of all, oh, one thing I forgot to mention. During your opener, when you hide now, you get both of your ninjutsu charges back, or your mudra charges, I guess I should say. Meaning that precasting a Doton is something that you can do again. So you can use Huton, then you use a Doton, then you hide, you get both of your charges back, and that still allows you to set up the next trick attack just in the opener, as you would always do. Of course, some bosses don't really allow for this. For example, Leviathan is a boss that doesn't move, and if you move into his hitbox to like land the Doton on Leviathan, then, well, the boss is aggro to you, so you can't hide anymore. But for some other boss fights, like for example E1 Savage, E2, E4, you can ask your tank, and if the party is okay with it, if you can precast the Doton, and if they just want to pull it in there for more like DPS. Most parties probably won't do that in Party Finder, but if you're like playing in an actual static, you could ask people to do that. For example, I know my ninja does it when we go into Ultimate, like for example on Living Liquid, he precasts the Doton, and I'm pulling the boss to the middle of the arena anyways, so I might as well just pull it into the Doton for some extra free DPS, because that's essentially what it is. So if you can do it, and if the party is okay with it, precast the Doton, so you can get some extra free DPS, because you get both of your charges back from hiding anyways. I'm not going to do it on the dummy though, because I can't hit the dummy with Doton without aggroing it, and then I can't hide to reset my ninjutsus. So, as always, the opener is on the screen, so you can follow along if you're not sure what I am pressing. And here we go. So we're going to precast our Huton, we hide to get our ninjutsu charges back, and then we go into the opener. Now I'm going to be using Mug 1 GCD earlier than you should, because where I'm using Mug, you're actually supposed to be using your potion, but sometimes I just don't get the Ninki, because I'm actually a little bit lagging today. So that's why I'm going to be using Mug 1 GCD earlier than you technically should use it. And there we go. As I said, Aeolian Edge with the bunching attached to it, if you can get an extra Bavakakra, is more potency than just using the Raiton, so that's why I used that instead of the Raiton under the trick attack at that last possible second. As I said, oh well, I actually didn't say this, but as soon as you hit 40 seconds on your Huton gauge, you can use Armor Crush to extend the Huton to make sure that you don't overcap, because if you use it above 40 seconds, then you are going to be overcapping. Now, our ninjutsus are about to overcap, so I'm going to be using my Suiton. We're using our Kasatsu to set up our next trick attack. I'm going to be saving up as much Ninki as I can. I'm going to land at a beautiful 100 just as we go in here. And since ninjutsus don't generate Ninki for us, we can actually use it and not lose anything. And then we have our beautiful 3 ninjutsus. The Shadowfang, oh yeah, Shadowfang is something you always have for all of your trick attacks. And then of course our full Aeolian Edge as well. And then as you can see, our Bunchin's about to be up, and we just have enough Ninki to use it as well. So we're going to be using that as soon as it's up. Now for the 2-minute trick attack, we're going to have Mug available as well, so that's why I'm going to be dumping all of my Ninki. Because otherwise I'm basically going to overcap my Ninki by using Mug, and that's something that we don't want. So here I'm gonna be precasting my Suiton again. Now for the next trick attack, as I said, we're going to be having some extra stuff available as well. I'm going to be double weaving here. I think that's probably the best, because otherwise you are going to be like delaying your skill a little bit. Not sure if it's the best overall to do. I like doing it though. Just because it keeps everything nice on cooldown. And then here we have our next trick. I'm not sure if it's best to use that ninjutsu so that you can get that assassinate in there as well with the GCD. It's just what I've been used to, so that's why I'm doing it like that. Again, downtime, not really doing much. Since the next trick attack is going to align with our Bunshin, I am going to be saving up my Ninki, just to make sure that I have enough, because I'm not 100% sure if I will have enough Ninki generated again by the time Bunshin is up, and I don't think I will, because this is generate another 20. Actually no, I'm gonna have just enough. There we go. And then we go into our next trick attack. Trick attack pretty much looks always the same for the most part. Just depends on how many bavas you can get in there most of the time. And there we go. Next trick attack over. And then I'll keep going until we get to the next one, so we have a beautiful 4 minutes, so that you can kind of see what it looks like. I'm not going to do the whole 6 minutes, because that would make the video quite long. And I don't want to make it too long of a video either. So again, we're going to have our mug up, so we want to make sure that we dump our Ninky, so that we don't overcap it. We're going to precast our Suiton again. And actually, I'm gonna overcap by 5. That's a bit unfortunate. Well, actually, technically, I could have used the ninjutsu instead of the GCD to not overcap my gauge. Could have done that instead, but I didn't think about that in time. But yeah, so that's pretty much what it looks like. Over here, I'm going to be delaying my Bunshin by like a few seconds, I think. So we don't have enough ninjutsu, or not enough Ninki. So technically you could have cut out that last bava so that you could have your Bunshin immediately. But yeah, that's pretty much a ninja. It's pretty cool. It's pretty different from what I'm used to, because most of the time you were always using your ninjutsus during your rotation, because it wasn't that 20-second cooldown. But right now, since you can store charges, you can basically make it so that you only are using your ninjutsus inside of that trick attack. Which is pretty cool, because now it feels much more like a burst class, like what I think it should be, because you do have that 1 minute burst window that you're setting up for everybody else. So it felt kind of weird not having that much burst yourself for the most part, especially when it came to Stormblood. In the beginning of Shadowbringers you did have a lot of burst for it already, but I do think it feels a lot better now. So that's pretty much Ninja. Hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next one.